Have you ever wondered, what if I could clone myself with AI? And no, I don't just mean create an image or a video of yourself. I mean create a genuine AI version of you that can think and speak exactly in the way in which you do. You see, around 2 years ago, I asked myself this very question, and I've dedicated over a couple thousand hours towards this idea and bringing it into reality. And in today's video, we're going to cover whether or not it's possible or potentially even inevitable. So in order to answer this question, we first need to ask another question, which is, what makes you, you?
Damn, I don't think I'm real.
You see, over a year ago, when I was writing lines of code and trying to figure out how to make an AI like someone else, I had to pause and ask myself, what makes someone who they are? So let's rewind all the way back to the very beginning. You were born on Earth, unless you're an alien watching this video, in some country, in some city, at some point in time. When you were born, your parents gave you a label. This was a name, and it stuck with you for the rest of your life. You initially learned to walk. You heard your parents' voices.
Sup? I'm your dad.
And then eventually you spoke your own words into existence. Then came school. You met other kids your age. Some you liked, some you didn't like. But you started to form your own understanding of the world around you. Before long, after many experiences that you had, you created an identity of your own. You decided to go on your own path on whatever felt right for you. Maybe you started a family, perhaps you went to Alaska and fought off a bear, maybe you went on a spacecraft all the way to the moon as an astronaut, or perhaps even climbed Mount Everest. The reason why I showed you those visual examples is to illustrate how each one of us can have entirely different subjective experiences of this thing we call life. And every one of those experiences have been stored as a memory and as information. But now that we've dissected that question a little bit, which is what makes you, you, we know that all the experiences that you've had ever since you were born are a large reason for why you are the way that you are. They've shaped your personality, the way that you think, the beliefs that you hold. But now we have to ask another question, which is, what makes an AI an AI? Artificial intelligence, or AI, is exactly what the name suggests. We took a look at our brains and went,
what if we could make a digital version of this?
And we have. One of the people who pushed this the most was Geoffrey Hinton, who has been known as the godfather of AI, and he essentially created neural networks, which is the system by which an AI can learn by feeding it more data over time. But AI isn't conscious in the same way as us. There is no I, there is no emotions, there is no subjective experiences that it has. Every large language model like ChatGPT has something called weights, and you can think of these as dials that were set during its initial training. And every time you ask an AI a question, it uses these billions of weights, billions of dials, or even trillions to guide its thinking in generating you a response. It's not publicly known yet, but ChatGPT 5 is estimated to have a few trillion weights, and that might seem like a lot, but if you compare it to the human brain, which actually has 100 trillion connections, that number seems a lot smaller than it is. And the reason why I made that comparison is because even though it has less connections than ourselves, it has the ability to recite every single Shakespeare play, summarize thousands of books, and translate into pretty much any language that you can think of. It just shows how much more efficient AI is at doing these particular tasks than ourselves. And how does AI know all of that stuff? How does it know all of this information? Well, it's been trained on a lot of data. And if you're still watching in the video, if you're still following along, hopefully now you can see the bridge between why we asked those two questions, which is, if your personality, if your beliefs, if your thoughts have all been shaped by the subjective experiences that you've had ever since you were born, and that is nothing more than some data, some information, and an AI is nothing more than patterns which is trained on data, then what happens if you train an AI on your data? Well, if you knew the right type of data to give it, which is also the hardest part, by the way, then in theory you could train an AI to think and speak just like you. Now you might be thinking, how do I know this? Well, it's because I've seen it firsthand. Before I even started this YouTube channel, J.AI, I spent nearly 2 years of my life working with a YouTuber who had over 1 million subscribers, and I had a very simple task on paper, which was to create an AI version of him, but it ended up being one of the most difficult things I've ever tried to accomplish. And after hundreds of iterations, many late nights of fine-tuning, one day I asked the AI a question, what are you doing today? And it responded exactly in the way in which he would. And shortly after that project, around 4 or 5 months ago, I started this channel because I realized that anyone in theory could create an AI version of themselves as long as you gave the AI model the right data. Now in a moment I'm going to cover why people might do this in the future and whether or not it's inevitable. But just before I do, one of the most common questions I get asked is, Jay, why don't I just go onto ChatGPT and upload someone's books or someone's videos and just call that a clone instead? And the best way for me to answer this is to illustrate an analogy. You can absolutely do that, and you will get close. You will get good responses if you go down that route. But it's like giving an actor a script. The actor can repeat the lines, but the moment you improvise, they end up breaking character. With fine-tuning, you're not giving the actor more lines. You're essentially telling the actor that it is this character. You're giving it all of the character's experiences until it is like that person. Now, will an AI ever 100% be like someone else? No, obviously not. AI doesn't have consciousness, it doesn't have memories, and it doesn't have many of the other things that makes us distinctly human. But it can get very, very close. In the future, why would people even want to do this? Now, I don't think there's one single answer. I think there's many different reasons why people will do this in the future. One kind of scary reason is an idea of immortality. With AI, it lives forever unless someone turns it off. So if someone makes a clone of themselves, well, it can live beyond when the person expires. Another big reason is anyone who has a lot of demand for their attention, for their time. Take a coach, a consultant, a YouTuber, a CEO, the list goes on. Anyone who's in that position, well, they can't physically answer every single question that they get from everyone. By creating an AI extension of yourself, it gives people a chance to get a response from the closest thing to the real you. And it's not about replacing the actual person, it's about extending them so that their knowledge, their voice, their expertise can stretch further beyond their time. Why doesn't it exist yet, and is it inevitable? The main reason why it doesn't exist yet is because most people can't imagine themselves asking a question to an AI clone of someone else. And as Arthur C. Clarke once said, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And in some ways, this does seem like magic. Imagine if you genuinely had a clone of yourself and someone asked it a question and the answer it gave was so close to what you would actually give yourself. You'll probably be a bit spooked out by it. So the real question isn't if we'll clone ourselves with AI, it's more so a matter of when. Because that's why I started this channel, J.AI. I want to be a living test case, a living proof that you can clone yourselves into an AI format. And one day I will release an AI model that is very similar to the real me. And if you're watching this close to the time that I released this video, it's still early days, but eventually my channel will begin to take off and it will reach a critical mass where all of these videos that you've seen, my thoughts, my beliefs, even my personality, will be compressed into an AI model called J.AI, which I'll release into the world. A lot of people are going to hate me, a lot of people are going to criticize me and not like this future that we are going to be moving into, but I just think that the positives will far outweigh the negatives, and there's only one way to find out, really. Anyways, that's it for today's video. I hope I managed to compress what I've learned over the past couple years and put it into something valuable for you in this video. But yeah, if you're curious on how I generate all of these visuals, then there'll be links in the description to all the softwares that I use. And yes, those are affiliate links. It does help me out and support the channel. But yeah, that's been J.AI, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.